Revisiting Tai 2 left me with a taste of disappointment and fermented dot piss in my mouth. But even with all the bullshit I went through with that game, I had a big itch for going back and revisiting older platformers I played the shit out of from my childhood. Originally I was gonna be playing through Super Mario Sunshine again, though that experience quickly diluted itself into just being a big puddle of frustration and repetition. But I heard about this brand new platformer game that came out a while I was away that's supposedly heavily inspired from Sunshine among other games. A little indie game made possible via crowdfunding. Oh fuck. A Hat in Time is a 3D collectathon platformer developed by Gears for Breakfast, a small little indie studio only comprised of a handful of members that took on the project after the main dev felt like there was too much of a shortage of collectathon platformers in the past several years. But after you-know-who came onto the scene and made everyone's weens and vagines dry up and fold into themselves due to all the just... Dear lord, this game is so shit I can't even translate it into words. I was mighty fucking spooked and really thought this game was gonna be another train wreck considering the mostly amateur team behind it. Whoa, Twister, it's actually really good. The game begins with our small protagonist being calmly woken up by the ship's PA. You get to mess around in her room for a bit just before you go to the main control panel to check out the progress on your trip back home. You're then suddenly interrupted by this odd Italian just fucking hanging around in space without a helmet all nonchalantly telling you to pay up to get through. And after a little friendly interaction, you end up stranded in Mafia Town with all your remaining fuel resource scattered all over the little tiny planet. Good luck getting all of them, you little shithead. Nice guy. With the movement being the most important part of the game, I was really fucking relieved that not only was it tight and responsive, but the team even went further than that to optimize every little aspect involved in it. You're filled with confidence and assurance with every single jump you take, and moving around feels really slick and really quick. You got these little moves from the start with shit like diving and wall climbing that with the right inputs can allow you to get more air and momentum, even allowing you to do a bit of sequence breaking in some levels. But the platforming is only half of the gameplay. To my surprise, this is probably the first game I've ever played that got me genuinely hooked into collecting everything. I pretty much spent my first 2 hours just on Mafia Town alone exploring every single nook and cranny, and unlike Hat in Time actually has a lot of the collectibles placed in a more thought out manner where most of the items are nearby each other or strung through a path so you don't end up having to spend hours looking for that little single collectible and it's just 5 hours of psychological torture. Mafia Town is pretty much the prime example of how a collectathon level should be, but unfortunately all the other worlds take either a more linear approach or a more loose or open approach to level design. Does that make sense? Hat abilities are the main gimmick, providing all the fun in the game among other things. You obtain the hat abilities by collecting balls of yarn scattered across the map, and then making them yourself from scratch. You have the Sprint Hat, which does what the name says. The Brewer Hat, which allows you to throw projectile potions to hit either enemies or just to break random shit around the level. The Ice Hat, which is mainly used to fling yourself around these springs in order to traverse other separate parts of the level. The Dweller's Mask, where it's to materialize hologram platformers found in the later levels, and finally there's the Time Stop Hat. There are also badges that you can get, serving as little upgrades for Hat Kit if you're willing to go the extra mile, as well as different unlockable color skins and music tracks unlocked by collecting Rift tokens and trading them with the Gumball machine. Time rifts are probably the most noticeable aspect this game took from Super Mario Sunshine. I mean, you can't really distinguish this shit. There are two different types of time rift levels in this game. The first one is a more common one, with the only real objective being to get through the stage without sucking in order to get another extra timepiece. The second type is only seen once per level, and have way more care and variety put into them in terms of visual and design. These second sets of rifts have you going around collecting little MacGuffins in order to have you progress. The main purpose of these levels, aside from the challenge of beating them, are the backstories you get for each world and the current turmoil they're facing. They can range from short and quirky to real fucking depressing, real quick. Last little bit I wanted to mention was the boss fights. This is probably the weakest aspect of the game, while providing a challenge and sometimes an odd chuckle. They're pretty repetitive as platformers boss fight goes. That isn't to say that they're forgettable though. Each fight is accompanied with their own unique style added to them, the most memorable bits of these fights being the fucking amazing music that we'll get onto later. If you ask anybody who's played A Hat in Time what's the best and most memorable part of the game in general, they'll most likely bring up the personality. Yes, hello, I am person number 19319821 to say, this game sure is cute. Seriously though, the art direction in the game stands out like a sore thumb, infected with gout in the best way possible. All the 2D expressions drawn on the character's face are perfect. The game has such an expansive color palette that constantly changes throughout each single level. There are these little chairs placed around each world that you can just sit on and have time slow down for you, allowing to just catch your breath and take the world in for no fucking reason. And I just love. The game doesn't shy from having a sense of humor too. The writing's filled with smarminess and self-awareness that never really comes off as cringy, ironic internet humor. The soundtrack also works miracles in the game's favor. First impressions were pretty much non-existent when it sounded like it was trying to emulate Mario Galaxy way too hard. It wasn't until I reached the second world, when the boss theme started playing, utilizing the sick-ass guitar, that I really started paying close attention to it. Also, a little side note, I really like it when soundtracks decide to interpret the main theme using different leitmotifs in order to invoke something else out of the player. It's just a random thing that I like. Looking up the OST, I realized just how much work was put onto creating it. There were some of these really cool sounding tracks that were only used once in the entire game, just as a small little gag. Although to be brutally honest, even with some of these tracks having a cheap stock sound to them, you can find a lot of effort and variety put into some if you keep on playing. You have elements of jazz, orchestral, techno, fucking heavy metal, and even music. And I'm still not done talking about this shit though, because I haven't even mentioned Subcon yet. Subcon Forest saved my life. Subcon got my girlfriend pregnant, and I never talked to the girl before. Wait, what I'm trying to say is that this fucking shit right here, this is only goddamn reason to keep breathing. First couple of minutes in, you're immediately greeted by this big cool looking shadow person called Snatcher. And he's just casually mentioning to you about how his last slave just fucking died and he needs a new replacement, which fortunately seems to be you. After being tasked to put an end to this weird spiritual yiff party by burning some cursed paintings on a bonfire, your choices start opening up and you get a variety of contracts to sign, with some of them being pretty boring. Okay, almost all of them aside from one little mission. Queen Vanessa's manor has a really cool fucking build-up to it. After crossing this demolished bridge, you have a long ride driving up towards the manor, with its silhouette being the only thing you can see in the middle of the blizzard, just towering over you the closer you get to it. You explore around the front a bit, trying to find a way into the place, and with no luck you try looking around the back of the house. You pass the cellar and you go in, and you start looking for a way to unlock the door leading up to the stairs, occasionally startled by the loud thunder outside. You make your way just to be suddenly startled by a screaming lady, demanding to know who's there. My gameplay doesn't really make it seem as scary since I was just mostly fucking confused, but whatever, you get the point. You get turned into stone if you get caught, and it's fucking spooky, okay? And after escaping that encounter, you're placed in a situation where you have to multitask. Evade Vanessa, while also trying to figure out how to reach the attic to get what you came here for in the first place. I really love this. I love all this shit. Subcon appeals to the closeted little autistic goth inside me. I feel glad for him. There's also talking news if you hang off that makes comments about your nice firm neck.
I wouldn't mind being strapped around a cute neck like yours.
I really like Subcon. Subcon's good. It's fucking good. Once you've collected every single entire piece and not completely skipped over Alpine Skyline because it's so goddamn confusing. No, we'll never do that. You're granted access to the final world, creatively titled The Finale. A massive lava castle built by Mustache Girl. She needs no other introduction other than she's a cunt. Her sole motto is to simply judge every single one of the inhabitants of this world fairly. And of course nobody wants to deal with waiting in such a massive queue in fucking hell of all places. So of course, you have to go in and stop her. Then after the tricky-dicky platforming, you and a couple of goons you met while traveling have come to intervene with all the bullshit that she's been causing. What ensues is a big anime battle inside space-time with dubstep blurring out of your speakers that comes completely out of left field. After many failed attempts at beating the bitch, everyone suddenly realizes that the only real way to beat Mustache Lass is through the power of love and friendship. So everyone just decides to kill each other right then and there in order to offer you hearts. And it works! Fucking works! So now you're finally done with all this bullshit. You sorted out everyone's problems, and you've got all the timepieces you need in order to get back home. Before leaving, you catch a brief glimpse of Whisker Wanker, and decide to at least give her one more chance to sort her problems out. You refuse to give her the timepiece and leave her laying in the scorching concrete unconscious. Later, faggot!
You wanna sample him? A little try before you buy, huh? Come here, bitch!
I feel so fucking relieved that this game turned out to be the complete opposite of what I was expecting the closer this game got to release. I ended up having such a genuinely wholesome and fun time taking everything the game had to offer. The game was so well polished, so well designed, and just so charming, for fuck's sake. I really can't remember the last time a game made me actually smile multiple times throughout. It really did evoke a feeling that could have only existed in the heart of a fucking kid. And that shit really overtakes any technical issue present in the game. I've been sucking this game's dick for too long, but it's really true. I still have a couple of gripes with the game, mainly relating to Alpine being a massive blemish on a near-perfect game. The game can also be a bit too short for some people, so if you're really on the fence about getting the game for the standard price, just wait until the price drops, or at least until DLC support starts rolling in. It's already been confirmed that it's being worked on, and modding tools have been added recently to the game. As long as you can just go and support the devs any way you can, I'll be happy, and I'm sure they will too.
Hey guys, it's me, Sonicbolt. Oof boy, I'm glad this video show is done. I've been hearing people complain about my microphone levels and how I'm always peaking. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I think you're just hearing stuff. I don't know what's at the end credits. The script was written like in December, so if I got anything wrong or there's been new shit added that I haven't mentioned, then it's probably because of that. I don't give a shit. See you later.